music historian, does a lot of work in the industry. I'm glad he's staying with us for part of the next hour. A Scott, let me pivot away from the moguls for a moment, and let's talk about the other season that we're in, the
Yeah.
Christmas season. Let's talk about Christmas music, its role in inspiring us and lifting our spirits, and why the music doesn't feel right today like it did when I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
I am with you, my friend. I mean, again, this wall of music is just a fraction. I love Christmas music. I've been collecting it since I was very young, and Christmas Eve was always a great holiday for my family. And and yes, the history of Black people in this country, it definitely deals with the birth of Christ. Got Mahalia up there. I don't know if you can see that particular record, and then all the Christmas, Santa, Frosty, the Grinch, and all these other, kind of lighter weighted things, and the commercialism of Christmas and the gifts and all of that. But it's always given us spiritual reasons to think about, Christ our Lord and his birth on, on this land. And but then it's also been, lighter hearted and about uh, um, just kind of a brotherhood and a happiness and a family reunion type of a vibe. And I've really loved all that music. But recently, last year, we had a couple of really important albums that came out, and they were, maybe somebody would think that they were early, but I think they were right on time for this particular Christmas. And one of them is an album by Gregory Porter, who's become
Mm.
one of the most profound, mature, adult, introspective voices that we as Black folks and everybody, should listen to. And he has a song on his new album. He does do some of the other traditional things, but there's a song that he wrote called Everything's Not Lost. And it's a very sobering holiday song that talks about, not wanting to see, wanting to be blind because you don't want to see the pain that's going on in the world. You don't want to hear about all of the crazy things that are going on in your neighborhood, to your country and all that. But all is not lost, because this time of the year, Christmas, New Year's, is that time when we all come together and fortify ourselves. It's a really, really beautiful piece that I wanted to, you know, um, expose people to, as well as another amazing album by Robert Glasper, who's an incredible musician and producer, kind of known more so on the jazz side, but he's also been a very big proponent of bringing together hip hop, R&B, and jazz. And anyway, he has a wonderful new Christmas album called In December, which has a lot of wonderful songs. But there's a spoken word piece called Memories with Mama that features Tariana Ball, who I think her nickname is Tank. And I think a lot of people know her from her group that she leads called Tank and the Bangers. Anyway, she has a spoken word piece on there that really speaks to the fact that we've gotten away from a lot of what was beautiful and heartwarming and fortifying about the Christmas holidays. It's only about 3 minutes long, but of all the beautiful things that are on Robert's album, and it was one of my favorite albums of last year, Christmas or otherwise. That particular spoken word piece I have found resonates with people on a very strong level. So once again, it's called Memories with Mama. It's on Robert Glasper's new Christmas album In December. And both the Robert Glasper and Gregory Porter Christmas albums I cannot recommend enough, because they do speak to our times, and they're not just light, bubbly kinds of feel-good things. They really deal with the real spirit of Christmas and the kind of vibration that we're going to need to have now and going forward.
Gregory Porter's Everything Is Not Lost and Robert Glassbird's In December,
That's
Memories
the
with Mama.
yes,
Um,
memories.
we will keep those on our playlists during
Yes.
this season. I want to make this observation as a seminary student, right? When I was growing up and we were coming out of the 60s, and I was born in 1965, and Dad was, part of the renaissance of Black people, kind of post Black power, but Black excellence, Black economic development. And for the first time in my life, when I was 7 years old, I met a Black Santa Claus.
Mm,
Right? I mean,
mm,
there prior to the early 70s, the late 60s, there was no Black Santa Claus. That's hard for some people to imagine. There was always the jolly older white guy from the North Pole and the elves, the guy who came once a year and brought cheer and joy and gifts, until my dad broke that up. He said, I'm tired of giving him credit for what I'm working for.
that
So
part.
we're going to get Santa Claus out of here as quickly as possible. But at another level, A. Scott, is a theological shift for African Americans with, for example, the work of Howard Thurman
Mm,
that, positions the life of Jesus of Nazareth on the side of the oppressed for a man or a woman whose back is against the wall. Our Christianity began to change with our politics and the death of Dr. King and Resurrection City as a concept that grows out of the Easter tradition began
mm,
to matter. And
yes.
then, as given that he was born a brown Jew, Howard Thurman argues, in Jesus and the Disinherited, our music then begins to shift at Christmas time to a theology and a reality that more reflects our tradition. It's not just, I'm dreaming of a white people's Christmas. We go from that to, James Brown, to Michael Jackson's interpretation, to Aretha's interpretation,
Mm,
um, um, Gregory Porter's interpretation, and Robert Glasper's Mariah Carey's interpretation of
mm,
Christmas. It begins to reflect us more, and there's a
mm,
feeling that changes. That changes. I mean, I miss Johnny Mathis. I
mm.
didn't realize until I was a grown man that Johnny Mathis was Black. I
Yeah,
mean,
yes.
I just didn't know
In
it, but
what way?
he's
In his physical presentation or in his musical? Because he was a very pop artist that a lot of Black radio stations barely played, except for the Denise Williams duet. Too much, too little, too late. But he's an amazing artist, and he meant so much to us, particularly in the '60s, as someone that could sing those sentiments so beautifully, the romantic sentiments and
mm,
love and just all of that. We had Johnny, we had Billy Eckstein, we had Arthur Prysock, we had people that could uh, that were doing the same thing. We had our versions of, and I don't even want to speak the names of the popular, uh, you know, pop white artists at that time. Like I said, we've always 360 degrees. You can't do anything without it coming back to us. We are involved in it all. So yeah, when I was growing up, the first compilation tape I made for my family was on an 8 track, and it's an 8 track, and I mean, I had Gene Autry on there, I had Peggy Lee, I had Tennessee Ernie Ford, but in that time we didn't have a whole lot of Black records, so it was so good to be able to put Ramsey Lewis on there and Donny Hathaway on there and Mahalia and so many others. Now we have a proliferation of Black artists having Christmas music, and sometimes those Christmas albums were something to take something off the contract real quick for their recording contracts. They rushed them in, and they weren't taken very seriously. But we've also had some great standards. And I mean, Mariah Carey's, All I Want for Christmas is probably one of the biggest Christmas songs now. But I would direct us to Jesus, What a Wonderful Child, which was on, I believe, her very first Christmas album. And if you don't think you've ever heard Mariah go to church, that is where you will hear her go to church. And that is the one that's on one of my compilations, one of my playlists, you know. Because the other one you're going to hear no matter if you want to hear it or not, the mall or coming out of somebody's car right next to you at the red light.
Hey, Scott, thank you so much for joining us on KBLA Talk 1580. I hope you will come back and contribute more. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is the Jesse Jackson Show. When we come forward, we'll continue our discussion, a reflection on our music.
To speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. Somebody bring out the confetti, baby! Starting Monday, January 6th, KBLA Talk 1580 has a new midday lineup.
I'm excited.
Are you ready for Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornell West, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, and E. Cordelai Corte back-to-back?
Oh, my God.
Are you really ready for all this smoke?
I'm ready, brother.
Yes, we still have Dominique DePrima in the mornings and Zoe Williams in the evenings, but middays just got lit on KBLA Talk 1580.
We on fire.
All across America, people are talking about our new midday lineup. Starting Monday, January 6th, our KBLA 1580 app downloads are on fire because everybody's going to be tuning in.
Yes, I love you guys. You are the bomb.
Now would be a good time to hit up SMB at KBLA1580.com if you want folks to hear about your business or brand. That's SMB at KBLA1580.com. It's going up in 2025 on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's going up.
That's what I want.
This holiday season, Capital One reminds you to give yourself the gift of 1.5% cash back with the Capital One Quicksilver Card.
Can I earn 1.5% cash back on birds?
Birds?
What if you sent your true love 2 turtle doves plus a partridge in a pear tree?
Sure, but why would anyone want that?
The song was very convincing.
Earn 1.5% cash back on all your holiday purchases with the Capital One Quicksilver Card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
The big holiday beauty sale at Ulta Beauty is happening now. Get the best gifts up to 50% off, including can't-miss deals on Urban Decay palettes, luxurious YSL and Armani fragrances, and the fabulous Shark Dryer and Styler. But that's not all. New deals drop every week. So whether you're treating yourself or finding the perfect gifts for your crew, head to an Ulta Beauty store today. Get all the best gifts, all at Ulta Beauty.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on 1580 KBLA Talk. Welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Before I introduce our next guest, who we are actually celebrating in this hour, I just want to comment on A. Scott Galloway and the conversation that we had earlier today about how we were feeling. And A. Scott is an artist in his own way. He's connected to the music. He's connected to the industry, and he has a profound sense of what music and spirit and the history of music and spirit and how they matter to our people. A. Scott, well, he really didn't want to come on the program today. He was kind of doing me and our producer, Gina Towns, a favor. But I wanted A. Scott to know that his work matters. His work matters to us during this Christmas season, this particular Christmas season, because of the period of resistance that we are going into. And that feeling that he's feeling is something that's shared by a lot of us, because we know something is changing. and we can't put our fingers on it. I want A. Scott to know that he's not alone in that feeling, and that his knowledge of the history of spirit and our music matters to the future of our people. And so we wanted to keep his spirits up because his spirits keep our spirits up, and he lets us know when the change is actually occurring, and that does matter. My special guest now is Rob Battles. Rob Battles' his work centers around nonprofits, foundations, government systems, leaders on projects that entail utilizing a combination of capacity building, coaching, facilitation, strategic planning, program development and assessment, community engagement, and digital social engagement skills to foster innovative solutions to addressing social and racial inequalities in the world around us. So consulting is Rob Battles' thing. But why are we celebrating him today? Because this is Rob's final day at KBLA Talk 1580. And Rob has been in the background producing my show, along with Gina Towns, and training all of our engineers from Angie Scott to Orlando Page, helping us understand how to do radio, bringing guests on our program. One, we want to say thank you for helping us during this transition period. We want to know how you found your way to KBLA and this first production experience for you on the shows that you have been working with, and what your future holds. Rob Battles, welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show that you've been producing behind the scenes.
Well, thank you very much, Jesse Jackson Jr. I'm glad to be here on the other side of things. I'm not used to this, but very honored to be here. I was going to stick to my word when Gina asked me to come on, because like I said, I wasn't really expecting that, but I thought, hey, maybe I should give it a shot. So here we are. And I'm fortunate to be able to be on a platform like this. I mean, we're on the only Black-owned talk radio station this side of the Mississippi. And I'm, born and raised in Los Angeles, South Central specifically, if you ever heard of it. And the idea that Tavis Smiley was, owned a radio station essentially in my backyard, I just kind of thought that was so strange. Like, well, wait a second, like how could I be a part of this? What could I do, to have some kind of connection to it? So I saw when KBLA was birthed over 3 years ago, as just a fan, as just somebody out here looking for new outlets and media. And I think a lot of us were very discouraged by the kind of media we were consuming during the pandemic, and the 24-hour news cycle, and just kind of seeing the regurgitation that wasn't really speaking to our community, wasn't really highlighting our needs. So the fact that Tavis was able to do that, I think kind of changed my mindset in terms of, well, hold on, I think that there may be a role here for me in this landscape, rather than just looking at videos and commenting and, every now and then trying to put out a post or something and feeling like I'm contributing to my community. I was like, well, what if I took another approach? And while I was in the middle of consulting, as you mentioned before, that's my bread and butter. And shout out to the organizations that I've worked with and I'm working with right now. But one of those is the City of Los Angeles. And while I was in the City of Los Angeles working on the redistricting commission, I had a media budget specifically around ethnic media, which is very interesting in this day and age now that we know that there's all these attacks on DEI. The idea that you would have, ethnic specific budgets kind of makes people kind of weary. But it opened, it gave me an opportunity to come to KBLA in terms of an ad buy. And that's what I did. I tried to find a way to uplift this community need that was happening around redistricting in Los Angeles. So I found ways to get the redistricting commissioners on radio programs, specifically on First Things First with Dominique DePrima. Wow. And that really gave us a platform to talk about this and to make this a very inclusive process, which, if you know anything about redistricting, oftentimes isn't. It's happening once every 10 years, and they're using census data to kind of make decisions. So for us to kind of be able to have a forum where people could actually talk to their commissioners, they could share their concerns, we thought that this was a great place to do that. So I put all of my budget, all my Black media budget into KBLA.
Oh,
and,
wow.
But believe it or not, they're very excited about that. They're very grateful. And we were able to, kind of build that relationship. And then, just like how things happen in live radio, somebody couldn't do their hit one day. And then
let me ask you two questions.
Sure.
One, from your perspective, how important is this work that Tavis Smiley is doing and carving out? and the overall landscape of the Black media space in this present political context?
Well, I think what Tavis is doing is of the utmost importance. I mean, he's leading by example. He's saying, I mean, I've heard it coming out of his mouth, you got to own it. You know, if you don't own it, they can take it away from you. And I think that speaks volumes about where we are, you know, in this country right now, trying to establish, well, what is our new version of success? How are we determining the value of our existence? Right? We've campaigned it, we've commodified it, but you know, how do we walk the walk and build community with it? And that's what I think that this moment in this opportunity that KVLA has is that's what they're taking advantage of. But think about it across the landscape. There's only 5 Black-owned talk radio stations. So the challenge is finding how do we use this medium that's been in existence for decades and it's on the precipice of becoming something different. How do we use it to our full advantage? And I think that KVLA is doing that.
Rob, obviously you have a commitment to social justice. That's why you're here. Share with us your space, having grown up in a certain and in a particular context that brought you to this point in your life and the decisions that you make. Share with us more about yourself.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, but unlike many people, I've not just lived in one place my whole life. I'm a child of the product of all of Southern California, and did not really grow up in a particularly political household. I would say that you could ask my family right now, they're like, yeah, we didn't kind of grow up with all this social justice stuff, but I always had a keen sense of my Blackness and who I am as a Black person. I was told the first day of kindergarten, I'm going to have to work twice as hard as everybody else just to be seen as regular or meeting the standard, right? So I always understood what it was like to be the only Black kid in a class or to kind of have that experience until I started going to school with other Black folks and started realizing that there's a community here in Los Angeles. So when I graduated from Crenshaw High School, took that sense of community to UCLA and got immediately involved in student activism. And it was that foundation of Black UCLA Bruin activists that really set me off on this path.
And how you came to KBLA?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I was in the middle of just doing my consulting thing and got invited to be a guest to speak on First Things First with Dominique DePrima. And I'd known Dominique for about 20 years, doing some youth organizing work in the early 2000s. She was on the board of directors of Community Coalition, which is a big organization here in Los Angeles. And while I was there, I was trained as an organizer under Mayor Kevin Bass and City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson. So I really got a sense of what's expected of me as a leader in my community. So when I saw an opportunity to come and bring that sense of leadership into KBLA, I jumped at the opportunity. So when I came on board, I wanted to be as humble as I could. And I spoke to Dominique and I said, hey, if there's anything I could do besides coming on and doing some guest hits, I'd like to really support the show in any way I can. And she said, okay, if you're willing to humble yourself, we'll start you at the very beginning. So I became KBLA's oldest intern in my mid 40s and decided to say, hey, I want to learn this business all the way from the inside out completely. I want to learn how to buy and sell ads. I want to learn how to get shows up and on the air. So that's what I did.
I don't think people fully appreciate all that goes in to the production of a show, to the projection of a voice like Dominique DePrima's and Tavis Smiley's, putting them out there in the world. And their voices ring so loudly and so clearly for such a time as this politically. How difficult and how important will these voices be going into 2025?
Well, relying on credible messengers all the time. And there's no more credible messengers than the two that you just mentioned. I mean, like I said, from my perspective, they're my media, they're my Black media parents. They've ushered me into this space and given me an opportunity. I remember when Tavis called me about a year ago and said, hey, do you want to produce these shows? And I lied to his face and said, yeah, I could do it. I know exactly what I can do. Let's go. And here we are a year or so later, and we were able to successfully kind of navigate those waters. But like I said, it's given an inspiration in me to kind of say, like, there's a role for me here that I want to chart on a path for myself, something that's not just for, benefits myself and my family, but ultimately I think the community at large. And then like I saw the example of a Black radio station here in LA is kind of being that inspiration.
So what's next for Rob Battles?
Well, I'm a full-time parent, right? So as soon as I get off with this, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that these kids is fed. But I do got some media ventures that I have in the works that I'm really excited that are going to be ready to go, hopefully as soon as 2025 hits. So yeah, really excited for that.
When we come forward, we'll return to our conversation with Rob Battles to discuss the future of, well, himself and just about everything else we're going to be doing at KBLA. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., KBLA Talk 1580, when we come forward.
You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 things you should know from BIN News. A deal has reportedly been reached to avoid a government shutdown. Sources say the new spending bill will suspend the debt limit for 2 years after President-elect Trump demanded it. The original deal collapsed after criticism from Trump and Elon Musk. Wall Street is closing with stocks mixed. This comes after the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost over 1,100 points yesterday and closed lower for the 10th straight time. However, it was slightly boosted today. The Blackfoot County DA is challenging Donald Trump's claim of presidential immunity in Georgia's election interference case. She called his dismissal request to the state appeals court legally and procedurally flawed. And Big Lots is going out of business sales after closing 400 plus stores due to bankruptcy with fewer than 1,000 locations remaining. The CEO said closures may reverse if a sale succeeds, but staff cuts are needed. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
In Long Beach, a crash has cleared 91 eastbound before Long Beach Boulevard. Delays pushing back from Avalon Boulevard. La Crescenta stalled out Big Rig. 210 westbound at La Crescenta Avenue. Right lane is blocked. Delays out of La Cañada from Angeles Crest Highway. And let's also check out Pasadena on the eastbound side of the 210. That's slowing down from Mountain, pretty heavy all the way to Foothill Boulevard. Delays ahead in Upland from Baseline as you continue towards the 15. And let's head out to Anaheim, 57 northbound. Delays away from the 5. You're on the brakes and stretches all the way to the 60 freeway.
Staples has amazing deals on everything you need for the holidays, from custom holiday cards and photo gifts to laptops and gaming systems, even shipping solutions. And now save up to $350 on select computers. In-store only. Offer ends 12/28. Unwrap huge holiday savings at Staples.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The TV ratings are in for last Saturday's Celebration Bowl in Atlanta. The Black College Football National Championship game featuring Jackson State and South Carolina State drew 2.1 million viewers on ABC's live telecast. The ratings are a 37% increase over the 2023 Celebration Bowl, which featured Howard University and Florida A&M. The TV ratings from Saturday's game, won by Jackson State, reflect the growing interest in HBCU football around the country. When HBCU Norfolk State introduces Michael Vick as their new head football coach, they will be bringing some history to the Virginia campus. Vick, a former NFL star quarterback, was the first black quarterback to be chosen number 1 in the NFL draft. Vick was the overall number 1 pick in the 2001 draft by the Atlanta Falcons. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. By any other name, we demand environmental justice in 2024 and beyond. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
Add confidence to every holiday adventure and get it done with a rugged and capable Chevy truck or SUV. Now during Red Tag, get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment is 26.8%. You must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 1/2/25.
Workers in California cut and polish man-made stone for countertops, showers, and more. Without proper protections, workers breathe in harmful dust from the artificial stone material, which puts them at risk of developing silicosis. California employers are required to protect their employees from harmful silica dust by providing proper equipment and training. Stop dusty and deadly practices. Learn more at worksafewithsilica.org. This is a message from Cal OSHA.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. Welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My guest is Rob Battles. Rob is commemorating, celebrating, and we're honoring him because this is his final day at KBLA. And while I have been working with KBLA, he has been kind enough to transition our program from previous programs to a new platform, train our staff, work with our new producer, Gina Towns, our new engineer, Orlando, and Angie Scott. And we want to spend this time with Rob being grateful and sharing the platform that he helped create before he transferred it to us. Rob, I already know the answer to this question I'm going to ask you, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Don't let it stop you.
Yeah. I know exactly what time Rob comes into the program. I know exactly when Rob leaves the program because I know exactly at a certain time during the day what Rob has to do. So my question is, what is your favorite job?
On the production end,
No, not on the production end. On why you have to leave. On why you have to leave and go get someone.
Well, that's what makes this job so interesting is the finding a sense of growth along the way and finding out when it's your time. When I stepped into this role a year ago, I didn't know anything about what I was doing. And I felt like I just gotta have to invest in myself. And I feel like I'm at this point where it's time to do that again. But some of it is just a little behind the scenes stuff. Like I want to be there for my kids a lot more. And the 4 to 6 slot for me just really made it too difficult to be there for them and to kind of give them the attention that they need. I would feel bad when they got to kind of hang out next to me and be quiet because we're on the air and they want, homework help and, or I'm a little too tired right after the show when I do a debrief. But I found that, I didn't really have to keep going like that I could find a way to step away as long as I took my ego out of it and realized it's not all about me, is that I've kind of done my part. And now it's time for me to show that I can move on and create another space from somebody else to fulfill their role.
But in a real sense, being a Black father and working is hard. And you've made it your priority. You've not chosen your career over your children or your family. You've just made the judgment that at this time and in this space, the sacrifice and the debt that you owe to your children and to their development and growth really, really matters. Can you speak to that for us, for Black men?
Yeah, well, I say that I got that sense of responsibility from my mom specifically. I grew up, I did have both of my parents, and I'm actually very fortunate to still have both my parents in my life right now. But there was a certain sense of work ethic that she's instilled that just showed me like, this is how you do it. And you just find a way to make it happen. And she doesn't make any excuses. Yeah, she gets tired. Yeah, she gets overextended. Yeah, sometimes people, take advantage. But she knows that her heart's in the right place and she's doing it for a good reason. And that is enough to stand on. And that kind of set the stage for me to be able to do the same thing.
Some of the favorite people that you have been able to bring to KBLA, place on various shows, and some of your thoughts about some of your favorite interviews.
Oh man, well, I've got to work with a bunch of great hosts this year. Reva Martin, Dr. Nee Corte. I got to do a show with Dominique DePrima, which was my main goal. The fact that I got to produce a show for Dominique was just, I was over the moon for that. I got to produce a show for Tavis, but we also had people like Angelique Francis, Faraji Muhammad. Like, I got a real good baptism, so to speak, of Black media folks in terms of the different senses of styles of and how hosts work and how I can work, kind of help them make their visions come true. So many talented regular guests. We have folks like Sharon Reed in Atlanta, Alan Orr out of Tennessee, Rashad Frazier Gaines out of North Carolina. Just so many regular folks that I got to work with. I was just so happy. April Rain, big media consultant out here, and I even got some big names. I was happy. I was like, oh, okay, we got Roy Wood Jr. on the show. We got Stephen A. Smith, Sally Richardson. I got Ronnie DeVoe. So I was like, hold on, I got somebody from BBD on the show. That's it. I did that. I did that. But I think the one I worked for the most, and it took me the longest, and it was actually the first person I tried to book as when I knew I was going to be a producer. Like, oh, I'm going to get Jasmine Crockett.
Oh, wow.
I've been a fan of Jasmine Crockett's, following her on social media for years before she even ran for office. And so when she started running for office, I'm like, oh, yeah, you had a little back and forth a couple years ago. That's great. Good for you, kind of thing. Seeing somebody who put their money where their mouth was. She wasn't just out here to critique the establishment. She became a part of it. And it took us 4 months to book Jasmine Crockett, believe it or not. But she ended up coming on the show for mine 3 times this year.
Oh,
3 times. So it was definitely a testament to just sticking with it, going at it. Booked Hakeem Jeffries, a Democratic House Majority Leader, came on the show. We also have a relationship with his brother, Hassan Jeffries. As you know, he's come on the show before. So it's been a fun ride for sure.
That's extraordinary. Some of your thoughts about the overall media environment and where and how important Black voices are going to be in this coming era.
Well, the first thing I learned was that the world of Black media is very small, very, very small. You see a lot of folks that are doing a lot of heavy lifting, that are doing the jobs of 2 and 3 and 4 different people. And I'd like to see that be able to come to an end. I think that a lot of Black media is criminally underfunded.
Yeah.
I think that the metrics or the boundary, whatever equations go into, funding and finding ads value and space for these shows, I think it's totally inappropriate. The idea that we're competing in the same ways as major media and these legacy outlets who are on their way out themselves, and that there's no innovation in terms of being able to connect directly with Black media sources. I'm very baffled and very disappointed at that. But at the same time, it makes me feel like, well, that's part of what I should be trying to do. I should be trying to be in that space and trying to make a statement or a case on this is how we could be doing it better.
Rob, you were in the sales department too at KBLA, and so you understand what the
I did pretend to be a salesman.
what the challenges are. How does the DEA space and the need for Blacks to recognize that we've got to advertise and market their businesses in this space as well? How important is that?
It's of the utmost importance because all of this is generated by ad revenue. That's what keeps all of this on the air. That's what keeps keeps money in people's pockets, keeps these shows going and expanding into, the online with YouTubes and stuff like that. I think that when you can start to pull back the lens and see that Black media has not really been elevated to the state of, traditional and legacy media, that now is our time. You're going to start to see these offshoot. I'm going to say they're going to start small, but you're going to start to see these offshoot little bit of ownership happening, and that are going to build it up and build it up. So it won't look like it looks like, I think, in 10 years. I think that the talent pool is so rich that you're going to start to see a lot more KBLAs out there. You're going to see a lot more folks kind of saying that there's a space here for me, that I am something that needs to be, I need to be a voice. And maybe instead of being a guest, I should be a host, as an example.
One of the great challenges, obviously, is that it's not just radio. It's multimedia platforms and making the transition. One of our guests on our show shared with us that so many Black-owned media outlets, i.e. newspapers, have not made the transition to digital. And you have helped navigate the space of traditional radio and multiple platforms. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so what you're starting to see now is that the platform that we know as radio is kind of morphed now into this kind of podcast thing where you have this long form interview kind of subject matter where people can kind of dive really deep into it. And that's great. But at the same time, it has to create a visual component and it has to be in a bite-sized way that is digestible. And it's got to have a multi-generational message, right? So as you can see, there's all these variables that makes it very complex to nail it. But people are nailing it. You're starting to see that there's another generation of content creators is the term that we're using for them, but their ability to be able to regurgitate information in the way that we used to get in radio and from television is changed the game. It's really changed the game. And the idea that we have to court new audiences is big, right? Your radio audiences are going to be very different than online audiences. So finding that balance of not alienating your core audience while also at the same time trying to bring in somebody new, it's going to be a difficult lift. So the idea that Black station executives are tasked to do that, I know exactly how big of a lift that is. And it's not something that you can just kind of flip a switch and, you can rely solely on relationships. A lot of it is going to be just hard work and luck.
Well, one of the things that Rob has taught me over the last month and a half or so is to honor the station breaks. When we come forward, Rob Battle, our producer who is celebrating his final day at KBLA, who's been of great service to our team. We're so grateful that you're here. We're going to finish this hour with you when we come forward.
We can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. Welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm here with our producer, Rob Battles, who is celebrating his final day at KBLA, and we want to thank him for his very, very valuable service to just about every program at KBLA. Behind the scenes, there is some Rob Battle or Rob Battle's fingerprints on just about everything that we do, from booking guests to making sure the engineers are in place. Hey, Andy, what's up, bro? Just wanted to give shout out to Andy tonight, along with Orlando and Angie. All of these people work under the production of Rob Battles, and they are the people that make shows work. They keep the station current. They keep the news current. They provide questions and give us books and insights on who the guests are going to be. And none of that's possible without the leadership of Rob Battles, who we are losing at KBLA today. Rob, what was your favorite Jesse Jackson Jr. show?
Oh, this one, actually, the one that we're shooting right now. That's the best one. You know, that's how that goes. But yeah, no, like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to do this. I hadn't really thought about doing this, and I really want to thank you and your team for giving me the space to show you how to do my thing, and to give me the confidence that this is something that we should all be investing in, and we should be doing this. This was a gamble for us to go down this road about a year or so ago, for the station to kind of decide that we're going to go heavy on these two remote shows to do it, and for us to figure out everything that we needed to do to make that happen. I didn't do it by myself. I'm not self-taught. I learned from the board operators, Andy, Miles. I learned from Avi Bernard. I learned from Asha Jordan.
Wow.
Even the folks at the sales team, because those are the guys that taught me, like, this is what the heart of the station is. This is how we talk about this station. Helped me to learn how to sell the station when I'm talking to guests, and help them understand, like, why are you coming on this black radio station in LA, but you're a professor over here at Penn State? Well, let me explain to you why.
Yeah.
We're one of the only black-owned outlets on this side of the Mississippi. Stuff like that really helps people understand that, yeah, 12 million people are listening to KBLA on all of our various platforms every single day. So it was one of those, the sales guys, the head of revenue, Gary Bembridge, who was like, hey, Rob, I don't think this sales thing is working out for you. I think you should be a producer. And I was like, Gary, I think you're right. I think you might be onto something here. So that's what happened.
You bring something to this production, and you bring something to every show. That is an activism. You talked about redistricting and gerrymandering. As you know, I was in Congress for 17 years, so I went through two censuses, and the redistricting, the redrawing of congressional districts and state legislative districts, and trying to fight for more African American representation, male and female, at every level of the government. Does that activism, with that knowledge, continue for you in your next sphere of work and influence?
Oh, in every way, shape, or form. I would say that's where I'm the hardest on myself, and I feel like that's where I really want to lean into much more. I really see the lead of someone like Dominique DePrima, who's found a way to do her professional and her political activism just seamlessly, and has invited me along the way to be a part of the work that's being done here in Los Angeles. But it means a lot to me to be able to use platforms effectively and bring people on board and have conversations that aren't the easiest conversations to be had, but to have them in a respectable, dignified way. I think is everything. And I think that's not often the case. I think sometimes we might want to lean into the entertainment or the salacious value of things. But I think that if you just do your homework and sit down and have honest heart-to-heart conversations with people, you can change more lives like that.
I found one of the things I've learned so much from just having you on the program, other than talking with you offline. You talked about the multiple layers of communication generationally that are required, and there's only one host. But the same multiple layers generationally have to be communicated to equal the audience that ultimately the host is responsible for. I mean, that came from a study of the statistics in sales. It came from a study of the marketplace west of the Mississippi. It came from a marketplace on the multiple platforms. It comes from the marketplace of who you ultimately have input on, who hosts shows.
Yeah, and that's why we have
science.
That's why
real
Tavis
science.
is syndicated. He's syndicated across the country now. We have hosts that are based in DC, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, right? That shows a reach and an expansion that I don't know that anybody else can match right now, to be honest with you.
No, that's
if we can toot our horn for a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's what is so attractive about KBLA to me, and the team that that Tavis has assembled is just nothing short of extraordinary, and it's all us. You know, we make or break us, and I really
That's
love
all
the
you can ask for.
discipline. I love the discipline of the organization. Tavis is he's a tough taskmaster, and I appreciate him as my friend. I also appreciate him as my boss in this
Well,
capacity.
he sets that bar. He sets that bar very high, and I think that one of my 2 goals this year. I'll save the second one, but one of my goals is to make sure I didn't get that call from Tavis after our show. I want to make sure there's no need for that to happen.
Trust me when I tell you, I'm concerned when
I know.
the
I still
producer
got 5
calls me
minutes
and
on the
says,
clock. I don't
"Tavis
know.
wants to speak to you." Did I say something wrong? Rob, did you want to say some thoughts for the team that you've worked with over these years before we conclude this section of our show?
Yeah, well, I hope this whole kind of appearance for me just kind of, if it comes off as like a love letter to all the folks I've got to work with at KBLA and the folks I hope to continue to keep working with. In ways, this is my last version of me in this way on the network, but it won't be the last that you see from me. I think that I've been too inspired and I'm too motivated to just kind of not be able to do it. It's just I was in a particular circumstance where the timing wasn't really right, but it also allowed me the space to grow, and I'm ultra appreciative of that. So, like I said, everyone who came on as a guest, now that I'm on this side of it and I got the armpit sweats to prove it, I know it's not easy to be under the lights and try to hold court, and say something that you hope is articulate and poignant, and not fumble over yourself. So if I totally know what it means when we've sent you something like 2 minutes before airtime, or we're sending you text messages about an article we want you to read during the break. So the fact that everybody was very professional, very kind, and that my kindness that I brought into this space was returned in kind was everything for me, because I don't feel like the media landscape usually operates on kindness. I think it's a little bit more deadline driven and a little heartless. And I was just hopeful that I was injecting a little bit of heart into all of the work that I do, but specifically in this way.
I just want to take this opportunity to say that there are personalities that are projected, but we're only as projected as the shoulders of the people that we stand on, the people who do the real work from 9 to 5, the people who put in the 12-hour shifts, the 24-hour shifts. And it's the Rob Battles, the Andys, the Miles, the Orlandos, the Angie Scotts, our new executive producer, Gina Towns. It is these people that we stand on. They're on the other side of the camera. They're on the other side of a lot of machines that make commercials happen, and ins and outs, and text messages over here on the side that none of you can see, that tell us to honor the times and when the hard breaks are. And I want to apologize at the outset, as I'm new to this journalistic forum, for the times that you hear me interrupt our guests, because I'm trying to honor what Rob and others have taught me about the time slots, because ultimately, as Rob understands, we have to pay people who fill in these slots, who advertise to keep us live on the air. But none of this is possible without the soldiers, without the nameless and faceless voices that put in the real work behind the personalities. And we simply would not be who we are today if they weren't who they are. And their dedication matches our dedication at every level of professionalism. They matter. And the anxiety that some of us have when we come to these programs in the morning or in the evening, it's relaxed profoundly, because what you don't know is that we have people whose hands we hold, who guide us through these processes. Even earlier today, when we had a technical difficulty, the team knew automatically to go to break, even though I'm still here talking and rambling on, thinking that the echoes are something that can be resolved in real time. It is their profound sense of professionalism that make KBLA work. KBLA works so that it can communicate with African Americans and progressives all across this country and around the world. None of that is possible without people like Rob Battles. Rob, we're grateful for your service to KBLA. We're grateful for all that you've done for all of us. We applaud you and we appreciate you.
Well, thank
Until
you. Can
next time.
I just say shout out to Mari, Cheyenne, and Maya Abiona Battles, because I did it for y'all.
Amen. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. Until next time, Rob Battles, thank you for your service.
Very welcome. My pleasure. Peace.